Welcome Capricorn, welcome to your monthly reading for June 2021. But before we begin, I want to let you know that I do daily video horoscopes, weekly video horoscopes, monthly video horoscopes, and monthly sun sign, rising sign video horoscopes. You can watch all these on my YouTube channel right here or on my website called www.realmofastrology.com. And do hit the subscribe button. Alright, so let's begin. But before we get into June, I want to talk about the period that we are in. We are in between eclipses. There was an eclipse on May 26th, and there will be an eclipse on June 10th. And this period, as we enter June, is the period between eclipses, and it is a very powerful time. It is a very karmic time. It is a very destined time. So things might happen in your life unexpectedly. You might receive messages, you might have insights, and the purpose of an eclipse is to put you where you're meant to be. It also reveals things in your life. So this period that we're in as we enter June is very powerful. I just thought you should be aware of that. And now let's begin with the month of June. So first I'm going to give you an astrological overview, and then I'm going to pull out a card for the month of June for you, what the energy is for you guys. All right, Capricorn. So let's begin with June 1st. What's happening on June 1st? So the Sun and the North Node are meeting up, as you can see on the chart, and they meet up once a year almost, maybe give or take, depending. And when they meet up, what happens? Wherever the Sun is in your chart, it has been in your 6th house for the past 11 days or so, and matters connected to health, your job, mainly these two areas have been illuminated in your life. And the North Node there conjuncting the Sun will only bring more light, shed more light to these two areas of your life, health and job. And this also includes your day-to-day routine, diet, exercise, nutrition, all those things. So that's what's happening on June 1st for you, Capricorn. This area of your life will be illuminated in a powerful way. And before we move on, I do want to mention that right now we have a lot of concentrated energy. As you can see, a lot of planets are in Gemini, and this means the energy in our life is concentrated in one area. And for you, that's 6th house matters, which is primarily health and job. It's also the day-to-day routine, it's also planning, it's also organization, it's also your diet, it's also exercise, it's habits as well. So these are the areas where there is a lot of concentrated energy, where there are a lot of planets. And when on June 1st the Sun will meet the North Node, something will be illuminated. It will be the focus of your life for that moment, that day, at least till this energy is on. And in general, when the Sun and North Node meet, the North Node will energize any planet close to it. So in this case, it's energizing the Sun, which is our soul, which is our identity, which is our consciousness, which is also our ego. Okay, and yeah, that's on June 1st. Now I'm going to move on to June 2nd. Now, two important things are happening on June 2nd, Capricorn. The first is that Venus is going to change signs, which means for you it's going to change houses. We'll talk about that. And the second is the last quarter phase of the moon. Okay, so let's talk about Venus first. Venus in your chart is right here. As you can see, it's at 0 degrees of Cancer. It's changed signs. From Gemini, it's entered Cancer. So in the past 20-25 days or so, Venus has given you gifts. Venus has made you receptive to your job, to your health, to your day-to-day routine, to habits, to exercise, to nutrition, to planning, to organizing, all these things. And now Venus has entered your 7th house, which means it will make you more receptive and give you gifts connected to your relationships, connected to your marriage, connected to your business partnerships and legal issues. And it will continue to do so till I believe June 27th, when it changes signs again. We'll talk about that, but for the next 25 days, that's what Venus is going to enrich in your life. Now let's talk about the second thing. the last quarter square of the moon. It is when the sun and the moon make their last 90-degree angle before the moon catches up with the sun for the new moon on June 10th or 11th, wherever you're at. Now, what does this mean? What is the last square of the moon, and what does it represent? It is a letting go process. Okay, so this is the point where we start to let go, we start to release things. Okay, and what are we letting go of? What are we releasing? It's the new moon that happened on May 11th last month. Okay, this is the point where we begin to close that cycle out. So on May 11th, we had a new moon and we had a new beginning in terms of our self-values, self-worth, values, skills, finances. That was the new beginning in general. And for you, Capricorn, that new beginning was in your 5th house of romance, of love, of children, of pleasure, of hobbies, of creativity. That is where you seeded something. And now, on June 2nd, with the last quarter phase of the moon, you're assessing what connected to those areas of your life can go with you to the next month and what needs to be released. And this is a very subtle process. It's a very subconscious process, and it can last the whole week. So that's June 2nd. Now I'm going to go to June 10th, and this is the most important event of June. It is the new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. Now, what is a new moon? A new moon is when the sun and the moon are together. They're going to meet up at 19 degrees of Gemini. And they meet up once a month. And when they meet up, we have the new lunar month. We have a new beginning. We sow seeds. That we will reap in the future. And when it is next to the nodes, in this case the north nodes, it becomes an eclipse. Now, a new moon is a new beginning, but when it is an eclipse, the new beginning is more powerful, it is more potent, it lasts a much longer time. A new moon lasts with us for a month, but a eclipse stays with us for at least 6 months, at least, if not longer. And sometimes it can stay for even years. So we have a new moon solar eclipse in Gemini, which means we have a powerful new beginning that will stay with you for at least 6 months. And this powerful new beginning for you, Capricorn, is happening in your 6th house of job, of health, of your day-to-day routine, of your habits, of your nutrition, exercise, diet, all these things. So you will see something connected to these areas of your life on the new moon in a powerful way. It is a new beginning in these areas of your life in a very powerful way. That's what it is. And let me also mention that eclipses are karmic, they're destined. Things can happen out of nowhere when it comes to an eclipse. And eclipses will also reveal some pieces of information. So just be mindful of that on this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. Now, moving on to June 14th. June 14th is the most important astrological event of the year. It is the Saturn Uranus Square, a 90-degree angle between these two planets. Okay, now this energy will stay with us all year. It has been with us all year, all of 2021, and even 2022 we will feel it. But these planets will come exact in a square 3 times this year. One was in Feb, one is in June, and one will be in December. Now, before I move on to what this energy means, let me talk a little bit about Saturn and Uranus. And let me tell you where they are in your chart and what that means, so that you can put this month, this day into context. So let me clean up the chart first. Give me a moment. And we'll begin with Saturn. Okay, Saturn is here. All right, it is in your 2nd house. And Saturn in your 2nd house is, first let me tell you what Saturn means and what it does. Saturn is a planet that wants you to work hard, that wants discipline, that wants to put things in order. So when it enters a particular house, matters connected to that house, I'll tell you what it is for you, are put in order, and that requires hard work, that can require discipline. And wherever Saturn is transiting those areas of our life, we may not feel very good about it, because that's just how Saturn works. It's not necessary, but sometimes it feels that way. And the rewards for the work that you put in during a Saturn transit are not immediate. They can come in later. But the key with Saturn is to put in the work. That's the key. And Saturn has been transiting your second house since December of 2020. So since December of 2020, you have been working very hard when it comes to finances, material possessions, your skills, your values, and how you value yourself, your self-worth. These are the areas that Saturn is working on and putting in order, and it will continue to do so till 2023. So that's Saturn for you. Now let's talk about Uranus. Uranus is here in your fifth house. It's been here since 2019, give or take. And Uranus will stay in your fifth house for 7 years, beginning in 2019, almost. Again, give or take. And what does Uranus want? Like Saturn wants you to work hard and wants you to put things in place. Uranus wants you to become who you actually are. And it will get rid of anything that prevents you from being who you actually are. And when it is transiting a house, matters connected to that house, if they are preventing you from being you, they will be broken. They will be taken out of your life, so to speak. And it may even bring things into your life that will help you be you. And Uranus energy is sudden, it's unexpected, it's even shocking at times. So this will continue for 7 years, beginning 2019. And that's in your house of love, pleasure, romance, children, hobbies, creativity. Okay? And when these two planets square, which is not very often, the last time they squared was in the year 2000, so almost 21 years ago. So it's a rare energy. When these planets square, in general, it means that we have to get rid of old structures, old thought patterns, old ways of living, old ways of being, and embrace the new. It's also about finding out who you truly are and embracing your true, authentic self. So that's the general energy. And for you, Capricorn, this is happening in your second and fifth house, which might mean that the tug of war between the old and the new is happening in matters connected to your finances, self-worth, and your love, romance, hobbies, creativity, children. Somehow in these two areas, this transit will highlight those areas of your life. Okay, and on June 14th, they come exact, which means this is where the energy peaks. Okay, this is when the energy peaks of this transit. Now, before I move on, let me go back to June 11th, because there was two things that I wanted to mention that I did not and I should have. So let me go back to the June 10th chart to show you guys. The first is that Mars is going to leave your seventh house and enter your eighth house, okay? And this happens on June 11th. Sorry about that. I should have gone to June 11th before I did June 14th, but it slipped my mind for some reason. So when Uranus is in a particular house where it has been in your seventh house for the past 40 days or so, it has energized, reinvigorated, replenished your house of relationships, marriage, business partnerships, legal issues. And now on June 11th, it's going to go and replenish your house of intimacy, of personal karma, of healing, of transformation. And that it's going to do that for the next 40 days. And the second thing I want to mention for June 11th is that Sun and Mercury retrograde are going to meet up right here. And this could be a message of sorts, an insight, a realization connected to the past perhaps. Okay? And it might be connected to your health, to your job, to your habits, to your day-to-day routine, even diet, nutrition, exercise, because that's all sixth house. So that's June 11th again. And then we talked about June 14th, which was the Saturn Uranus Square, which I spoke about. And then I'm going to move on to June 17th, because this is the first quarter square of the moon. And this is where the sun and the moon make their first 90-degree angle after the new moon on June 10th or 11th, wherever you're at. And what is this square all about? It is usually about obstacles. So this is the point where you might face some obstacles, you might face some challenges, you may need to change something, you may need to adjust something connected to the new beginning that happened on June 10th. And for you, it was in your house of health, in your house of job, in your house of day-to-day routine health. So there might be some obstacles, some challenge, some adjustments, some change you might need to make. And again, this energy is subtle and it can last the whole week. So that's June 17th. Now let me talk a little bit about June 20th. Okay, so two things are happening on June 20th. Let's talk about the sun first. So the sun on June 20th, the sun's right here, is going to change signs and enter your 7th house. So for the past 30 days, till about June 17th, it has illuminated matters connected to health, job, service, day-to-day routine, health, diet, exercise in your life, Capricorn. And now it is going to illuminate matters connected to your marriage, your relationships, your business partnerships, and legal issues for the next 30 days. So that will be the focus, that will be what will come to light in the next 30 days for you. And the second thing that happens on June 20th is that Jupiter goes retrograde. Now, I want to give you a little brief background on Jupiter and what it means and what it does and where it's been in your chart. So Jupiter is a benefic, which means it brings with it gifts, it brings with it rewards, it also brings with it healing, and it also brings with it lessons, all right? Because it wants you to learn and grow, and it also expands anything it touches, it magnifies things. That's what Jupiter is. And Jupiter stays in a sign for a year at a time, and it enters a sign, a particular sign, after 12 years. It is a 12-year cycle. So Jupiter, for the past 1 year, till May 13th, was transiting your second house, which means till May 13th, it gave you gifts, it brought you lessons, it gave you rewards, it brought you some healing connected to matters of self-worth, values, finances, and material possessions, and even your skills, Capricorn. And now from May 13th onwards till June 20th, it has been doing the same thing, connected to your communication, connected to your immediate environment, your siblings, your peer group, and your mind and thought processes. Okay, and as Jupiter goes retrograde, which it will on June 20th, and retrograde simply means, from the Earth's perspective, Jupiter is going to appear to move backwards. But astrologically, it means that it's a review period. It's also the period where we receive rewards for the work that we put in when the planet was direct. And in this case, we will still receive the gifts connected to Jupiter. However, the lessons will begin to ease off. And this is connected. The rewards will come. The review process will be connected to matters pertaining to your self-worth, values, skills, finances, material possessions, even your mind, your thought processes, your immediate environment, your siblings, your peer group. It could be all these things. And then on June 22nd, Mercury will come direct. It has been retrograde since May 29th, and now it will come direct. And when Mercury is retrograde, we are reviewing things, we are reprocessing things. It could be a blast from the past also when Mercury is in retrograde. And now, and that was connected to your 6th house, the review process, everything was connected to your 6th house, which is about health, job, day-to-day routine, diet, exercise, all those things that I keep mentioning. And now, when Mercury comes direct, you'll see forward movement in these areas of your life. It could also mean the confusion begins to lift, because when Mercury is retrograde, our mind does not work the best. Okay, so that's June 22nd. And now I'm going to pull up to the second most or the third most important event of June, and it is the full moon in Capricorn. A full moon is when the sun and the moon oppose each other, make a 180-degree angle, and this energy can feel stressful. Why? Because the sun is our soul, it's our identity, it's our consciousness, and the moon is our emotional body. And when they oppose like this, we can feel stressed. But a full moon is also the brightest night of the month, which means we can see things clearly. A full moon also means a completion point, a culmination point, a release point. So, what are we completing, releasing, culminating on this full moon, Capricorn? The first is the new moon that happened on June 11th, 10th, 11th, which was an eclipse. So whatever you began connected to your health, job, diet, service on June 10th into 11th, you're able to see that clearly. You're able to see what seed was sown on June 10th or 11th for you. Okay? And the second thing you're completing is a little more complex or able to see clearly, goes back to Jan of 2020. Jan of 2020, Saturn and Pluto met up, okay? And for you, Capricorn, they met up. Sorry about that. This is the wrong chart, so I'm gonna move it up 1 degree. Hang on. Okay, so just assume that this is here, okay? This is the rising sign. We're going to assume that and we're going to change it accordingly. So for you, Capricorn, the conjunction happened in your first house, okay? It happened in your first house. And what does that mean? It means that Saturn and Pluto change things, they end things, and they meet up very rarely, once in 33 to 38 years. And they met up in your first house, which means they completely changed. The first house is you, so they change something about you, your identity, how the world sees you, how you present yourself to the world, and even your appearance is connected to the first house. So these are the matters that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Jan of 2020 changed in a powerful way for you. And in Jan of 2021, that change that started a year ago in 2020 sort of became more visible, more tangible, more real, you can say. And now on June 24th, it's become even more real. It's completed itself. The cycle hasn't ended, but now you can really see clearly what that change was all about. So those are the two things, okay? And Capricorn, this new moon is happening in your 1st and 7th house, all right? Which means it will bring to light matters connected to your 1st and 7th house, which is about you and your relationships. These areas will be highlighted during this full moon for you. Now, I'm going to clean up the chart a little bit, and there are 1 or 2 more things that I want to talk about before we get to the card reading. And, okay. I think that's clean enough. Okay, give me a moment. Let me just clean it. Okay. So, first thing happens on June 25th, and Neptune goes retrograde. And Neptune, let me talk a little bit about Neptune. Let me change the chart actually, it's easier this way. Yeah. Neptune has been transiting your 3rd house, okay? It's been transiting your 3rd house since 2011. So a long time. Neptune is very slow moving energy. So it can spend 13, 14, 15 years, a long time in a particular house. So certain themes in our life will stay like that for a long, long time. And that's because of these slow moving planets. And Neptune's been transiting your 3rd house. And wherever Neptune is, 2 things can happen. First is it can cause confusion. It can cause delusions connected to the house that it is transiting, or through the matters of that house, it can help you cultivate universal love and compassion. It can help you grow spiritually. So these are the 2 different things, and also it can feel very magical. On one hand, there's confusion. On one hand, there's deception. On the other hand, there's developing universal love and compassion and spirituality and magical feeling. So it really depends what's happening for you. I cannot say that. But it has been in your third house. So matters connected to your mind, to your immediate environment, to your siblings, to communication, even writing. Those are the areas either you're confused about, unable to see things clearly, or those areas have helped you connect with the universal codes, the universal consciousness, spirituality, and it's been a magical experience. And when Neptune goes retrograde, as it will on June 25th, that confusion, if you have been facing any in these areas of your life that I just mentioned, will begin to ease off. And if you've done the Neptunian work, which is developing universal love and compassion, Neptune will reward you as it goes retrograde. So that's June 25th, and the last thing happens on June 27th. Venus changes signs from your 7th house, it will enter your 8th house. And for the past 25 days, since June 2nd, it has been enriching and making you more receptive to your relationships, to your marriage, to your business partnerships, and legal issues. And now in the 8th house, it is going to bless you, give you gifts, and make you more receptive to matters connected with intimacy, investments, personal karma, regeneration, healing, ending things, beginning things. So that's your monthly horoscope for June. It is a powerful month. There is an eclipse, there's a powerful full moon. So it is a powerful month. And now I'm going to pull a card for the month for you, Capricorn. So let's see what that is. Okay, this came out in another reading as well. I don't remember for who, but it says chop wood. Okay, and this card, I believe, is about getting rid of anything that's not working, Capricorn. Get rid of things that you're holding on to. Get rid of things that you need to let go of. Chop them out of your life. If you're holding on to something mentally, let go of that. Let go of that. So this is about releasing. This is about letting go. This is about ending. This is about ending things as well. Because when you're chopping something out of your life, and it could also mean that you have to focus on the day to day, because chopping wood is something very mundane. Maybe you need to focus on the mundane things in life, the day to day things, the routine things. And that makes sense because there's so much energy in your 6th house, which is all about the day to day, which is all about the mundane. And I believe doing the mundane will help you get closer to where you're meant to be in the month of June. So it could either mean you need to let go of something, you need to chop something out of your life, out of your mind if it's bothering you, but think very carefully about what that is. And the second could be that you need to indulge in the mundane, in the day to day, in the boring, so to speak. So that's the energy for the month of June for you, Capricorn. I really hope this video helped you in some way, and that was my intention, to help you in some way, because astrology has helped me greatly. And if I had known all these things at a particular point in my life, I believe I would have been better off. So that's why I do these readings, that's why I put these videos out, and I hope it helped you. And if it did, and if you think it will help one of your Capricorn friends, do send it to them. And if you like this video, do hit the subscribe button. So that's all from me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.